Hello Internet, welcome back to Out of Spec Reviews. Welcome to another Out of Spec range test here with the BMW i4 M50. This thing is pretty sweet. Let me show you around. So yeah, aside from the grille, this car is great. And the grille is even growing on me. This car genuinely looks better in person than it does on renders or in many press photos you've probably seen. Side note, I'd probably rather drive that up into Nebraska right now, but this is what I have today, and it is a really good ride. This is, again, the i4 M50. Here's the key. What's funny is the actual thing says Alpine white, but I think it's actually mineral white metallic. The Monroney says mineral white metallic. Not sure who to believe, but this does look like mineral white metallic. It is a $550 option, and this thing, it looks great. Headlights look good. Got the laser lights, and yeah, the grille. I don't understand why they didn't put the radar inside the parts that are already blacked out. That's a little funky to me. The badge, which is surrounded by blue, basically noting that you are efficient. You got the wheels. So the big thing with this M50 is that it's rated for 227 miles on these big wheels. It's a staggered setup, so you have wider 285s in the rear, 230 or 225s in the front, and these are the 20-inch wheels. This is interesting. The car states with the i4 M50 with the smaller 19-inch wheels, 270 miles of range. The rear-wheel drive, which is the i4 eDrive 40, can do 301 miles. So this one has a drastic chop off with the range estimate based on the EPA because of the wheels. I'm curious how it'll actually do. They are high performance, I think P0 tires, so a bit sticky. Got all the M badging and stuff, the M brakes. Got the Shadowline package, which gives you some nice accents. I really do like these wheels, the M design wheels. They're kind of part of a package, which cost a bit, but looks good. Spoiler right there. A little bit of a lip right here that's not on the front. I think that really does look nice. You do have the diffuser, which is funny because instead of exhaust where it'd normally be right here, they just have that kind of panel, which looks pretty good, kind of aggressive. M50 badge right there. Nice taillights. What do you think of BMW as a company right now? I mean, they were really leaders with the i3, but now with the i4 and the iX, I still think those are really incredibly compelling cars, but they were not nearly first to the mass market game per se. Obviously, Tesla and many others have kind of beat them out the door. Let's talk about the range test. Like I said, 227 miles is the EPA estimate. They do combined. They don't separate highway versus city, so we're going to find out what we'll actually do on the highway. Our friend Tom Malogny did a range test, of course, and so I want to see kind of how ours compares with about the same spec. And looks like a really good day. It's about 70 degrees right now, no, close to 80, and it might get up to 90, so it's a bit warmer, and we'll have a bit more wind than I think he did. We'll have anywhere from 5 to 15 miles an hour wind, although most of it's going to be tail or headwind, which is good because that works more directly with your efficiency. It's really the heavy crosswinds that'll affect you and mess up your range. But it's just about 99% right now, getting ready to get in, and I'll show you how I set up the car, and then we'll take off.
This video is brought to you by Currently. Save time by skipping the wait at a charging station. Currently delivers charging to your car, your home, the office, wherever you want it. Download the app and use promo code OUTOFSPEC and get 30 days of free charging delivery.
So we are at 99%. I wish they would tell you the actual charging rate right there. It has a sliding scale range, but not actually what you're doing in the moment. So it just says you're between 0 and 210, which I'd say is fairly obvious. But over here on the screen, of course, I did a whole video on iDrive 8 if you really want to know all the details. But they did get a software update since I've messed with that. So I'm excited to check that out. Got live vehicle here. We're going to reset the individual. So I will have that to track my progress. And I will be going into Eco Pro. We always use the eco-friendly mode, and I can always configure individual, which in this case lets you adjust the seat heating, climate control, the Eco Pro sight. I'm not actually sure what that is. Maybe more efficient on the rear window or something. And then damping and steering can all be set in there. So I'm just going to use the normal one because that's basically what it does. And that gives you slightly more efficient climate control. We always run our climate control at 68 degrees, and it puts in the lowest fan setting. We'll make sure that's still the case. Oh, I had that up. Yeah, so we're gonna do the very low fan setting. I may have to do low. If I do that, I'll let you know, because it is going to be a slightly warm day out here. But otherwise, this is pretty much ready to go. While we wait for the battery to top off, this is a good time to talk about the battery itself. 83.9 kilowatt hours gross capacity. The usable capacity is actually about 81.5. So they let you use almost the entire battery pack, which is pretty awesome. But also that means it can charge really slowly at the very top, and it'll definitely slow down the car when you're getting down to 1 or 0%. So my goal is to be off the highway by the time I'm about 2%, just to make sure I have a little bit of a buffer. So that is another interesting strategy, letting you use most of the battery pack. Because of that, they typically recommend not charging above 80 or 90% on a daily basis. Of course, you can deep charge this to 100 if you're doing road trips, or in my case, range testing. But yeah, it's interesting strategy. Some people have huge buffers, some have hardly any. Curious to see what you'd rather have. Some people just want the fullest amount of the battery possible and then be like, trust me, I'll manage it correctly. Nearly at 100%. It does say 252 miles range remaining as the estimate. Highly doubt we're going to hit that. Cars are never as efficient on the highway. It's not like the gas cars where your highway efficiency is more because you're using a higher gear. With these electric cars that are direct drive, it's really, less efficient on the highway because you're working against aerodynamics and you're using more of the engine and more of the motor, and you don't have the regenerative braking happening all the time. So we will see how close we get to 227 miles. My early guess will be 210. That is my official estimate right now. We'll see how close I get. All right, here we are at 100%. Pull that out. Claims it added 127 miles. This, by the way, is an awesome way to do a charge port. All you have to do is close one pin. And if you want to open the DC, that opens both. BMW's like the only one that does that truly properly. All right, let's jump in and do the test. We are on our way. Kind of like that shifter, by the way. It's thinking 255 miles. I have a feeling I will be proving it wrong pretty soon here. So with this screen, I get to see the actual watt hours per mile, which I think the EPA rating claims 420 watt hours per mile. We'll see what I average on this trip. Easing it up to speed here to the highway. So we set these tests for 70 miles an hour GPS verified, which I don't know will actually be 70. Now that I just got to 70, I will check with the GPS apps and verify. But Tom Logney in his test found that it was about 72. So that's my theory. I'm gonna set it there while I check, because that's most likely the case with my car as well. So yes, 72 shows to be 70 exactly. So I will be cruising at 72 for this trip. Doing pretty well so far. Yeah, not much to complain about. Nice interior overall. Got the cognac brown, however you pronounce that. Decent materials. They do add this like texture to it, which I don't actually love that much, but I get that that's traditional leather per se. I've got the glass sunroof closed. It's not a full glass roof like a lot of EVs have, but otherwise, good place to be. Very comfortable seating. No cooled seats. Of course, we don't run cooled or heated seats regardless in these tests, but that is one negative side on these warmer days. This also has the Harman Kardon sound system, which is really a pretty solid upgrade. It's really well priced, like less than $1,000 to upgrade that. So definitely worth it from that perspective. But yep, I'm just going to cruise along. And nice, like I said, nice weather, not a whole lot of traffic. It is kind of a Wednesday morning, so I didn't expect this route to be crazy. So I will update you at, of course, our normal 75, 50, and 25% state of charge increments, and let you know what happens along the way, if anything else happens. Otherwise, nice little bit of cruising to be done in the BMW i4 M50. As far as highway capability, this has the BMW Highway Drive Assist Pro, something like that. Not the best, most memorable name, but a capacitive wheel, that is very nice. means you just have to touch it to let the car know you're paying attention and not actually give it like physical torque, which is a great way to do it. You also have the automatic lane changing, which I just tap the turn signal and it changes lanes and turns off the signal for you. It's great. Good heads-up display there. Yeah, can't complain. I typically on these range tests will route to the gas station to where we started. I don't route to the charger itself because I don't want any sort of preconditioning. I don't know if this car does preconditioning. I've found various responses to that, and if it does, which I think it claims it does, it keeps it under the radar, so you never actually know when it's preconditioning or not, which I don't love that implementation. I'd rather the car tell you, or even let you manually precondition it in case you needed to for some reason. But we don't precondition when we do these tests because we don't want to put any extra possible wear on the battery or run it down any more than necessary. So I typically route to the gas station so that I can keep track of, you know, how many miles it thinks is remaining, but it doesn't actually say that on the route. Like, it doesn't say what you'll arrive to a place with at the state of charge. Like, it doesn't say what the state of charge will be when you arrive to a place. And also, if you navigate with this and use cruise control, it will start slowing down when you come up to like your exit on a highway. Just hanging out in Wyoming. Still beautiful weather, and I checked the windy apps again. That's what we use to monitor the wind and direction and speed, and it's like perfect. Basically, I have a slight tailwind up north until I switch to I-80, which I just did, and then it switches to a tailwind on I-80, which those both mean headwinds in the same reverse directions. That is pretty optimal if you're dealing with wind. Further into Nebraska, there are heavy crosswinds, but I don't actually have to go that far because this vehicle has around 200 miles of range and not like 400 or 500. If this was a long-range Model S or a Lucid range test day, that'd be a bit rough. Right, 75% update. Wow. So I have, I think, about 15 mile an hour direct tailwind, which means I've done 69.5 miles with an estimated 273 miles remaining. That is definitely not possible, which is fine. Tailwind is great. I will take that any day over a side wind, because a side wind, when that happens, you lose efficiency both directions. So it doesn't matter whether you're going east to west, west to east. If you have a north-south side wind, it's hurting you both directions. Versus a tailwind to headwind, tailwind is helping you one way, and then when you turn around, that becomes the headwind, which is why we do these tests in a loop style format. So I am going to turn around definitely before 50%, because if I turned around at 50%, I would not make it back. No way. I was really torn on what to do. There's another exit in like 10 miles, but I thought to play it just a bit safe because I can always loop back, like I said. So exiting here, we are at 68% state of charge, way earlier than I would normally do it, but again, with the wind, you really just don't know. Because my efficiency here was ridiculously good. The average is 281 watt hours per mile, I think, so far. So I've gone 95 miles. Now I'm turning around, because if my assumption is correct and that this should do 220 miles or so, that leaves, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. We will find out, but I am now heading back into the wind. And as I said, this is a direct headwind now. By the way, the climate control in here is really good. I still have the fan on very low, the most efficient, eco-minded setting. And I am staying just fine, like plenty cool, 93 degrees now. So very effective, actually. Pretty impressed with that. Checking in at our 50% mark, 50% state of charge. We have done 129 miles, and yes, the watt hours per mile in live time is much higher. Actually, the camera looks like it's picking up the eye tracking. How cool is that? Anyways, yeah, probably gonna hit a little bit of rain here, and definitely some wind. So, kind of glad I did what I did as far as turning around early rather than waiting for a while. So I'll let you know when we get to 25% and see how close we are to the come and go, and this could be interesting. I think I'll have some extra juice to do another little loop, but Who knows? Here we are at our 25% state of charge update. Just here in Colorado, right near the border of Wyoming. I'm actually doing a short loop between Colorado and Wyoming because it's very unobstructed by traffic. So very easy on, off, without even stopping, because I don't want to mess with the efficiency metrics. So still cruising along at our GPS accurate 70, which is indicated 72. And yeah, it thinks I have 61 miles remaining. I have done 178, so that's actually pretty close to dead on. And according to these values, we will smoke the EPA's number, which was 227, and we may get closer to 230 or so. So I was pretty off, I will say, which is fine. I was off in a good way. And as I mentioned early on, the wheels for this car is why it's given the 227 mile range by the EPA. The 20-inch M wheels, which are staggered, wide, aggressive tires and all that. Then the smaller wheels gives you 270 miles. That's a huge disparity. And I thought that was a bit much of a disparity to be accurate. So I think obviously we're not gonna get 270 miles, probably nowhere that close to that, but I think we'll definitely do better than what it says we'll do with the 20-inch wheels. And yeah, really, I mean, that's solid for a non-bespoke EV. This is slated to beat the Volvo C40 that I did a range test in recently, which is also built on a non-bespoke EV platform. So interesting take that we have some of these platforms in the wild, and can't wait to try the iX. So I'll give you an update when we get close to the charger with real low state of charge. Got the first range warning, which just says range 40 miles, and it asked if I wanted to find charging stations, to which I promptly replied no. The rain has definitely come in, but I haven't actually hit it yet. Somehow it's all avoided me. A couple drops here and there, but hasn't affected me at all, which is nice. But it sure is a welcome sign to have clouds instead of the blaring sun when it's this warm out. We are back down to 84 degrees, so good weather for a road trip to where I went nowhere. There we go, now 25 miles of estimated range, and then you get this menu, which I will say cancel. But 25 miles, now it's highlighted in yellow, and you have the 9% over on the left there. So, all right, here's our final turnaround before the gas station, which it's funny going to a gas station because we're actually going to charge, but hey, that's hopefully the future. We need more gas stations with DC fast charging. Anyways, we're down here at 3% state of charge, 11 miles estimated range. I have about, I think, 8 miles to get back to the gas station. So definitely be cutting it a bit close, and just going to ease onto the throttle here. Yeah, don't want to shock the car. It actually put a message on the screen, which I missed just barely, but it'll say, warning, your charge is low, and if you stop for extended periods of time, your remaining range may drop due to the fans cooling it. So it's basically letting you know the fans will cool the car, which will use energy and deplete your range even further. So that's definitely a cool message. I mean, I think that's true for most EVs, but I haven't seen many EVs advertising that. So now on to the final stretch back to the charger. Let's see how it goes, but we are down here at 3%, the low single digits. Still has plenty of power. Yeah, you can see a little bit there at the top. That's the power that has been removed from my capacity. So I'm gonna guess maybe 85% is the e-power limitation. So we'll see how that changes as we get down to 2 and 1%. I'll keep you posted. Now we have the engine power reduced charge, which is officially turtle mode. 2% state of charge. And you can see the power meter right there is dropping down slowly. Now we're almost to 75% of available power, which is still a lot, honestly. I expected worse. The Volvo is another car that lets you use almost all the battery pack, the C40 and the XC40, and they reduce your power fairly noticeably at 9%. We're down here at 2% and finally have a noticeable power drop, but even still, 75%. That's impressive. So 6 miles of range remaining, 5 miles to the charger. let's have some fun. Here we are at 1% state of charge, still giving me over 50% power. By the way, I don't think I ever mentioned explicitly, but this has 536 horsepower, 586 pound-feet of torque. That's still a good amount of power. It's not like the Volvo where, but at this point, you would have maybe 20% power, 10% power. It's to the point where you wouldn't even safely be able to be on the highway. So, jumping off the highway here, range is now saying 3 miles. So we'll jump out and head towards the charger, which is right over there. Wow, this is really impressive for this car. Not what I expected, not at all. But I'm just gonna jump over to the charger, basically do the frontage road till I get to right about 0%. We'll see. But it's coming down to the wire, proper out of spec testing. Here we are, 0% state of charge, right as we're pulling up to the charger with 0 miles. It doesn't even give you a number estimate. So, final numbers, 334 average watt hours per mile, which is quite good actually. That's about 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Better than I expected. Better than BMW advertised of 420 watt hours per mile. 245.4 miles is the official number. Really, really solid, honestly. I'm impressed. That's better than I expected. So there you have it, another successful out-of-spec range test, getting it down to 0% state of charge with, I don't know how many miles remaining, it didn't say. What a great car. Now I wish I could take that on a road trip. This thing's been parked here all day and I'm really curious to talk to the owner. But this, the BMW i4 M50, 245 miles, which beat the EPA estimate by 18 miles. That's really, really good, honestly. Had really good conditions. The wind is just now picking up. Rain is just about to come in, so I beat the weather as I hoped, and I had a perfect tailwind slash headwind scenario. So good situation for range testing, I'll say, but good looking car. Honestly, it's a sleeper. No one really notices it's an EV, and had a good time doing this. It was a nice, comfortable place to be. Honestly, not my favorite seats ever, but go check out the other videos we're making on this. We did a hogback challenge to test the ADAS system, the driver assistance basically. And yeah, I did kind of a whole review just looking at that question of, should you be bespoke or not? Anyways, thank you all for joining very much. We'll see you on another range test or generic video very soon. We have a lot of EVs in the fleet, in the mix. Catch you in the next one.